In my last podcast, I spoke about Paramahansa Yogananda ji's life with a special focus on his childhood anecdotes. In today's podcast, we'll be focusing on his young and middle life. Yogananda ji was about 11 years of age when he lost his mother. In the words of Paramhansa Yogananda ji, and I quote, I had an ominous vision. It was in Bareilly on a midnight. As I slept beside father on the piazza of her bungalow, I was awakened by a peculiar flutter of the mosquito netting over the bed. The flimsy curtains parted, and I saw the beloved form of my mother. Awaken your father. Her voice was only a whisper. Take the first available train. At 4 o'clock this morning, rush to Calcutta. If you would see me. The supernatural figure vanished. Father, mother is dying. The terror in my tone aroused him instantly. I sobbed out the fatal tidings. Never mind the hallucination of yours. Father gave his characteristic negation to a new situation. Your mother is in excellent health. If we get any bad news, we shall leave tomorrow. You shall never forgive yourself for not starting now. Anguish caused me to act bitterly, nor shall I ever forgive you. The melancholy morning came with explicit words. Mother dangerously ill, marriage postponed, come at once, and I unquote. Yogananda ji was devastated with the sudden loss of his mother, and soon after this loss, one of his cousins, who was fresh from a period of travel in the holy hills, visited him in Bareilly, who told him about his tales about the high mountain abode of Yogis and Swamis. Yogananda ji was so amazed to hear all these tales that he himself wanted to leave the house and go to the Himalayas. In the words of Yogananda ji, and I quote, let us run away to the Himalayas. My suggestion one day to Dwarka Prasad, the young son of our landlord in Bareilly, fell on unsympathetic ears. He revealed my plan to my elder brother, who had just arrived to see father. Instead of laughing lightly over this impractical scheme of a small boy, Anant made it definite point to ridicule me. Where is your orange robe? You can't be a Swami without that. And I unquote. The words of his brother painted a picture in the mind of young Mukund, roaming about India as a monk. Perhaps the words awakened memories of a past life. While chatting one morning with Dwarka, Mukund felt a love for God descending with an avalanchic force. That afternoon, he fled toward Nainital in the Himalayan foothills. But his brother Ananta chased him and forced him to return to Bareilly. The only pilgrimage permitted to Mukunda was the customary one at dawn to the Shioli tree. 14 months after his mother's passing, Mukund learned that she had left him a momentous message. His brother Ananta was present at her deathbed and had recorded her words, although she had asked that the disclosure be made to me in 1 year. Ananta delayed. He was soon to leave Bareilly for Calcutta to marry the girl mother had chosen for him. One evening he summoned Mukunda to his side. In the words of Yogananda ji, and I quote, Mukund, I have been reluctant to give you strange tidings. Ananta's tone held a note of resignation. My fear was to inflame your desire to leave home. But in any case, you are bristling with divine ardor. When I captured you recently on your way to the Himalayas, I came to a definite resolve. I must not further postpone the fulfillment of my solemn promise. My brother handed me a small box and delivered mother's message. Let these words be my final blessing, my beloved son Mukund. Mother had said, the hour is here when I must relate a number of phenomenal events following your birth. I first knew your destined path when you were but a baby in my arms. I carried you then to the home of my Guru in Banaras. Almost hidden behind the throng of disciples, I could barely see Lahari Mahashay as he sat in deep meditation. While I patted you, I was praying that the Guru take notice and bestow a blessing. As my silent devotional demand grew in intensity, he opened his eyes and beckoned me to approach. The others made a way for me. I bowed at the sacred feet. My master seated you on his lap, placing his hands on your forehead by way of spiritually baptizing you. Little mother, thy son will be a yogi. As a spiritual engine, he will carry many souls to God's kingdom. My heart leaped with joy to find my secret prayer granted by the omniscient Guru. Shortly before your birth, he had told me you would follow his path. Later, my son, your vision of the great light was known to me and your sister Roma. As from the next room we observed you motionless on the bed. Your little face was illuminated. Your voice rang with iron, resolve as you spoke of going to the Himalayas in quest of the divine. In these ways, dear son, I came to know that your road lies far from worldly ambitions. The most singular event in my life brought further confirmation, an event which now impels my deathbed message. It was an interview with a sage in the Punjab. While our family was living in Lahore, one morning the servant came into my room. Mistress, a strange sadhu is here. He insists that he should see the mother of Mukund. These simple words struck a profound chord within me. I went at once to greet the visitor. Bowing at his feet, I sensed that before me was a true man of God. Mother, he said, the great masters wish you to know that your stay on earth will not be long. Your next illness shall prove to be your last. There was a silence, during which I felt no alarm, but only a vibration of great peace. Finally, he addressed me again. You are to be the custodian of a certain silver amulet. I will not give it to you today. To demonstrate the truth in my words, that talisman shall materialize in your hands tomorrow as you meditate. On your deathbed, you must instruct your eldest son Ananta to keep the amulet for 1 year and then to hand it over to your second son. Mukund will understand the meaning of the talisman from the great ones. He should receive it about the time he is ready to renounce all worldly hopes and start his vital search for God. When he has retained the amulet for some years and when it has served its purpose, it shall vanish. Even if kept in the most secret spot, it shall return whence it came. I proffered arms to the saint and bowed before him in great reverence. Not asking the offering, he departed with a blessing. The next evening, as I sat with folded hands in meditation, a silver amulet materialized between my palms, as the sadhu had promised. It made itself known by a cold, smooth touch. I have jealously guarded it for more than 2 years and now leave it in Anant's keeping. Do not grieve for me, as I have been ushered by great Guru into the arms of the infinite. Farewell, my child, the cosmic mother will protect you. A blaze of illumination came over me with possession of the amulet. Many dormant memories awakened. The talisman, round, and anciently quaint, was covered with Sanskrit characters. I understood that it came from teachers of past lives who were invisibly guiding my steps. A further significance there was, indeed, but one does not reveal fully the heart of an amulet. How the talisman finally vanished amidst deeply unhappy circumstances of my life, and how its loss was a herald of my gain of a guru, cannot be told in this chapter. But the small boy, thwarted in his attempts to reach the Himalayas, daily travelled far off on the wings of his amulet and a raincoat. At the age of 12, Yogananda ji requested his father and expressed his desire to visit Banaras. His keen love of travel was seldom hindered by his father. He permitted him, even as a mere boy, to visit many cities and pilgrimage spots. Usually, one or more of friends accompanied him. We would travel comfortably on first-class passes provided by father. His position as a railroad official was fully satisfactory to the nomads in the family. The next day, Yogananda ji was summoned by his father. He held out a round-trip pass from Bareilly to Banaras, a number of rupee notes and 2 letters. I have a business matter to propose to a Banaras friend, Kedarnath Babu. Unfortunately, I have lost his address, but I believe you will be able to get this letter to him through our common friend, Swami Paramahansa. The Swami, my brother disciple, has attained an exalted spiritual stature. You will benefit by his company. This second note will serve as your introduction, said his father. Swamiji set forth with the zest. Reaching Banaras, he proceeded immediately to the Swami's residence. Mukund entered the front door and made way to a long, hall-like room on the second floor. A rather stout man, wearing only a loincloth, was seated in lotus posture on a slightly raised platform. His head, unwrinkled face were clean-shaven. A beatific smile played about his lips. He greeted Mukund as an old friend. His welcome was given heartily in a childlike voice. Mukund knelt and touched his feet. "Are you Swami Paramahansa?" asked Mukund. He nodded. "Are you Bhagwati's son?" asked Swami Paramahansa. His words were out before Yogananda ji had time to get his father's letter from his pocket. In astonishment, Mukund handed him the note of introduction, which now seemed superfluous. "Of course, I will locate Kedarnath Babu for you." The saint again surprised Mukund by his clairvoyance. He glanced at the letter and made a few affectionate references to his parent. "You know, I am enjoying 2 pensions. One is by the recommendation of your father, for whom I once worked in the railroad office. The other is by the recommendation of my heavenly Father, for whom I have conscientiously finished my earthly duties in life." Yogananda ji found this remark very obscure. "What kind of pension, sir, do you receive from the heavenly Father? Does he drop money in your lap?" He laughed. "I mean a pension of fathomless peace, a reward for many years of deep meditation. I never crave money now. My few material needs are amply provided for. Later you will understand the significance of a second pension." Abruptly terminating our conversation, the saint became gravely motionless. A sphinx-like air enveloped him. At first his eyes sparkled, as if observing something of interest, then grew dull. I felt embarrassed. He had not yet told me how I could meet father's friend. A trifle restlessly, I looked about me in the bare room, empty except for us two. My idle gaze took in his wooden sandals lying under the platform seat. Little sir, don't get worried. The man you wish to see will be with you in half an hour. The yogi was reading my mind, a feat not too difficult at the moment. Again, he fell into enigmatic silence. My watch informed me that 30 minutes had elapsed. The Swami aroused himself. I think Kedarnath Babu is nearing the door. I heard somebody coming up the stairs. An amazed incomprehension arose. Suddenly, my thoughts raced in confusion. How is it possible that father's friend has been summoned to this place without the help of a messenger? The Swami has spoken to no one but myself since my arrival. Abruptly, I quitted the room and descended the steps. Halfway down, I met a thin, fair-skinned man of medium height. He appeared to be in a hurry. Are you Kedarnath Babu? Excitement colored my voice. Yes, are you not Bhagwati's son who has been wanting to meet me? He smiled in friendly fashion. Sir, how do you happen to come here? I felt baffled resentment over his inexplicable presence. Everything is mysterious today. Less than an hour ago, I had just finished my bath in the Ganges when Swami Pranabanand approached me. I have no idea how he knew I was there at that time. Bhagwati's son is waiting for you in my apartment, he said. Will you come with me? I gladly agreed. As we proceeded hand in hand, the Swami in his wooden sandals was strangely able to outpace me, though I wore these stout walking shoes. I cannot believe my ears. Am I losing my mind? Did you meet him in vision, or did you actually see him? Touch his hand and hear the sound of his feet? I don't know what you are driving at. He flushed angrily. I'm not lying to you. Can't you understand that only through the Swami could I have known you were waiting at this place for me? Why? That man, Swami Pranabanand, has not left my sight a moment since I first came about an hour ago. I blurted out the whole story. His eyes opened widely. Are we living in this material age, or are we dreaming? I never expected to witness such a miracle in my life. I thought the Swami was just an ordinary man, and now I find he can materialize an extra body and work through it. Together, we entered the saint's room. Look, those are the very sandals he was wearing at the ghat, Kedarnath Babu whispered. He was clad only in a loincloth, just I see him now. As the visitor bowed before him, the saint turned to me with quizzical smile. Why are you stupefied at all this? The subtle unity of the phenomenal world is not hidden from the true yogis. I instantly see the converse with my disciples in distant Calcutta. They can similarly transcend at will every obstacle of gross material. In Paramahansa Yogananda ji's words, and I quote, it was probably in an effort to stir spiritual ardor in my young breast that the Swami had to tell me of his powers of astral radio and television, but instead of enthusiasm, I experienced only an awe-stricken fear, inasmuch as I was destined to undertake my divine search through one particular Guru, Sri Swami Yukteswar, whom I had not yet met. I felt no inclination to accept Pranabanand as my teacher. I glanced at him doubtfully, wondering if it were he or his counterpart before me, and I enquired. As Mukund was taking leave, touching his feet reverentially, he gave him his blessing. Your life belongs to the path of renunciation and yoga. I shall see you again with your father later on. The years brought fulfillment to both these predictions. Kedarnath Babu walked by my side in the gathering darkness. I delivered father's letter, which my companion read under a street lamp. Your father suggests that I take a position in the Calcutta office of his railroad company. How pleasant to look forward to at least one of the pensions that Swami Pranavanand enjoys. But it is impossible. I cannot leave Banaras. Alas, two bodies are not yet for me. That is all for this session of the USB show. See you in the next episode. Namaskar. Stay home, stay safe, and try looking for answers within.